see, I'm so loyal to people, and maybe I'm loyal to a fault, but I'm so loyal to people that when somebody's slightly disloyal to me, I look upon it as a great act of horror.
And how are you different than you were 3 or 4 years ago?
Well, I used to say, and in fact, I think I said in my first book that, and maybe this was foolish, but I really meant it, that someday I'd like to maybe lose everything for a period of time to see who's loyal and who's not loyal. And I found out a lot of things.
Did you find out who's loyal and not
I
loyal?
tell you what, and you can't guess it. You can't predict it. You think certain people would be loyal no matter what, and it turns out that they're not. And you just can't predict it. It's very difficult.
And that
I
would
think
have
I
been,
would have treated people differently. I think that, some of the people that were most loyal to me are people that I didn't think would be. Some of the people that were least loyal to me are people that I think I would have treated them differently. I think I would have treated different groups differently. I would have wiped the floor with the guys that weren't loyal, which I will now do, which is great. I love getting even with people, but I will.
Slow up. You love getting even.
Oh, absolutely. You don't believe in the eye for the eye. You do.
No.
I know you well enough. I think you do. But anyway, but
tell me. You're going to get even with some people.
Yeah, I know, if given the opportunity, I will get even with some people that are disloyal to me. Come on, Governor. Even though you didn't endorse me.
He's not forgotten.
I never forget.
We've caught them all.
Welcome. Another edition of Fighting for the Republic. Hello, Beth. How you doing?
Hey, Rusty. I'm glad to be back.
Well, you're always gonna be back. But
I think NyQuil I wasn't knowing which way was up at any point in time.
well, that happens. I mean, could be drinking a big gallon, but that's a bad thing. Just kidding. But
so, what all did I miss? Jump in and tell me the biggest one you can think of.
biggest one, actually, it looks like there's a possibility, and I can only say a possibility. There was an article where the Secretary of State of Michigan wants the voting machines wiped before an audit. Makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
How are they even legally allowed to do that?
You can't. That's the thing. I'm trying to find it right now.
There'd be no way to verify anything.
I know. So they're trying to hide something.
I think they are all just so scared. Exactly. They're so scared they don't know what's coming down, and they're running for the hills, I guess.
Well, especially one of the senators in Georgia, where she was really panicking. She was jumping all over her seat. Literally. And she was trying to debunk it.
I barely saw that, but...
What's that?
She was debunking her own... She was debunking her own reaction?
She was debunking the videotape from Georgia. And she was sitting there, no, it's not real. How do we know it's real?
Irony, anyone?
Yeah, I mean, that has guilt all over it. Oh,
I don't get these people. Exactly.
I have no idea.
And the fact they think we're stupid enough to actually think that.
I would love to play poker with these people. It'd be wonderful.
Oh, that would be a good idea. I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah.
Because their tells are very telling.
Absolutely. Before we start, welcome everybody once again to Fighting for the Republic. My God, episode 20. It's amazing. It really is amazing.
I'm proud of you for getting to 20.
It's very. It has a weird feeling to it, an exciting feeling.
I bet it does. Almost like a child that you're raising.
Kind of. How have you been?
Good. Other than the sickness, really, really good. Missed a lot of what happened this week, so I'm excited to talk about it.
Oh,
honestly.
Yeah. Well, there's a few things that I want to research a little bit more before actually present it. I want to be sure this is correct. It looks right, but then I've seen something that says that it probably isn't or could not be. So I want to be careful before that happens.
I don't blame you in that, because then you'll be known as the conspiracy guy.
Oh yeah, you know what? I had to come on one time with a foil hat just to tee off the liberals.
For those who don't know, Rusty and I, when we are off the show, we laugh continuously over some of the stupidest stuff. So if he gets me laughing, I will not stop. So be good, Rusty.
But it's very interesting stuff. And today, I think it was today, Dershowitz was on Maria Barcelona. Finally, I get her freaking name right. God, it's a tongue tie.
I wasn't gonna laugh, but I had to.
Of course you do. That's okay.
Do you have a clip of that, of him actually on there?
Yeah. As soon as I make sure.
You want to play it?
I'm going to play it. I want to be sure I got the right button. Bingo.
Yeah, I want to make sure I see it before I say anything.
There it is. It's running.
On his 2020 election challenges. Joining me right now with independent analysis are Judge Ken Starr, former independent counsel and Fox News contributor, and legal scholar and host of the wildly popular podcast, The Dersh Show, Alan Dershowitz. Gentlemen, it's good to see you both. Thank you so much for being here. Maria. I want to get your take on what we heard from Rudy Giuliani. And let me just say one thing that really struck me. Rudy just said this was a pattern that was set by somebody in Washington, because everybody else carried it out exactly the same way. They did it in the crooked cities. That's what Rudy Giuliani said. Look at that, as well as anything else that struck you from my conversation with former prosecutor Giuliani. Alan Dershowitz, kick us off.
There certainly is probable cause for investigating and looking further. Giuliani has made very serious accusations. The question is, which institution is designed constitutionally to look into it? Is it the state legislature? Is it the courts? is the clock running in such a way that there won't be time to look into this? I have proposed, for the future at least, the creation of a vote integrity panel, VIP, that would consist of former justices, judges, neutral, nonpartisan, that any complaint about an election, either before the election, during the election, or after the election, could go to this group, which could then look into it, because we know the media doesn't give it a fair shake, and we know that everybody else is partisan. The American public wants to know, is Giuliani correct or isn't he correct? I don't know whether we'll find that out in time for the meeting of the Electoral College votes.
Ken Starr.
Hi, Maria, and hi, Alan. The prediction of Jimmy Carter and James Baker in 2000 and their commission has come true, and it is a bit of a nightmare. They warned, after taking a very careful study, this bipartisan commission warned that absentee voting, mail-in voting, is a huge potential for fraud. And that's what we've heard from Rudy. So what do we now do about it? I think, to be honest, we're running out of time because the Electoral College meets on December 14th. So it's going to take an extraordinary action by legislatures and so forth. And Rudy is rightly pointing to legislatures because therein lies the ultimate, other than the Supreme Court of the United States, ability to have an effect on the just concluded election.
Stay with us. I want to ask you about Wisconsin and Georgia. These are the two that they think they have real success. We're going to take a break and come back with Ken Starr and Alan Dershowitz. Back in a moment. We are back with legal scholars Alan Dershowitz and Ken Starr. And Ken, a moment ago, you said it is the state legislatures that you're watching. The Trump team seems to think the most promising results here are in Georgia and Wisconsin. Your reaction? I think the Georgia legislature, at least that committee, seemed to be really troubled by the evidence, not just the video, but the other evidence of irregularities and the like. In Wisconsin, the use of the drop boxes, a kind of an innovation that were unmanned in violation of state law, huge problem in terms of potential fraud. Alan, you said earlier about the Supreme Court and the Pennsylvania state we're watching, but also that we need evidence. Do you feel that Giuliani has been presenting evidence with all of these videos and these witness testimonies? You said he's got 1,000 affidavits.
Yes, these are retail evidence that have to be determined to be true by cross-examination and witnesses. The core constitutional question that Ken correctly pointed to is clearly state legislatures have the power before the voters vote to pick the electors. The unanswered constitutional question is, do they have the power, state legislatures, to pick electors after the voters vote if they conclude that the voters' count has been in some way fraudulent or wrong? That is a constitutional question we don't know the answer to, and the Supreme Court may get to decide that question if a state legislature decides to determine who the elector should be and changes the electors from Biden to Trump. That will be the key constitutional question.
And do you think that the Supreme Court would rule that it was unconstitutional to widen the vote, have people vote before Election Day, after 8 o'clock on Election Day? Would those votes be null and void, even in the face of a pandemic?
I think so. I think that there's a 5-4 vote now in the Supreme Court, and Justice Alito seemed to suggest that that would cancel out the votes in Pennsylvania that were received after the close of Election Day. Whether that's right or wrong, that's the way I predict the Supreme Court would decide the case if it decided to take the case.
All right, great talking to you both. Ken Starr and Alan Dershowitz, please come back.
Now, do you think that the Supreme Court will really not take this up?
They're going to have to if it gets to that point. But remember what we talked about 2 weeks ago with the Electoral College. If no one gets 270 and it goes to the House, Trump wins, hands down. And that's because every Republican, every Democrat in that state as a rep counts as one vote. So you had 6 reps versus 3 Dems. That state would then go for Trump. And we've already done the math, and we know if that happened, Trump automatically wins. However, as Alan was saying, if the way they're presenting it gets it to a point that only a court can say yay or nay, that's okay or not, that's a whole other ballgame. And I don't know if I'm ready to go there yet. I'm hoping something happens before then.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that, the president's already, and I've said this many times, has hinted that it's ready to go to the Supreme Court. Wham, bam. Because of Amy Barrett. Becca in the chat said, Georgia voting machine seized and tested with ballots 50-50 Trump-Biden. Comes out 26 Biden. Which is...
Now, okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate on that, Becky. Okay, let's say we got access to him, we were able to look into him and find out what it would do.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what happened before we got there.
Right.
So they could have already changed it again, and I don't think we'll ever be able to pinpoint this happened specifically. Unless, as I said weeks ago, Trump was in a skiff that night, he saw it live, he has it all already. That's the only other thing I can come up with.
Yeah, because, you've already seen them take USB drives. You've heard about the Dominion. You've heard all kinds of stupid things. And we don't know which ones have or have not been tampered with. And it's...
Right. Will we ever?
Probably not, unfortunately. I doubt it. There's too many.
The only thing would be if Trump got it all and was able to lay it out for everyone to see.
Well, we still haven't seen the evidence to... it was a test for... Was it Fraction's test? I'm not aware of this. So I can't really comment on that one. But when you have... Already, you have people talking about all kinds of different things. You have Democratic governors, secretaries of state, and they're not really honest, of course. They're going to be screwing with them one way or another, and they're probably going to give the people who check these machines good ones that haven't been tampered with, right?
Exactly.
They're going to say, well, nothing's wrong here. See, everything is right. But we want the ones that
we have no way to prove that.
Pardon?
We have no way to prove that.
Nope. So I really see this going all the way to the Supreme Court. I just don't see, unless it gets taken care of.
The only thing that could possibly happen to stop it now would be if the electorals who are not binded vote their conscience and Trump takes over 270. If they're both under 270, then yes, it's going to go to the House and Trump still wins. Other than those two outcomes, the Supreme Court's the only other option.
Well, you have... Well, you don't think the Dems... You know how honest the Dems are. And the rhinos, well, they're just... Right. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. They're going to play along with them. But I don't think... we're going to get this resolved one way or another.
I hope you're right. I do.
I have truly believed...
I've just been playing devil's advocate lately, and I don't know what to believe sometimes,
Right. Well, there's so many different scenarios.
I trust POTUS. Exactly. I don't trust, the governors and the people who were observing it all. I don't trust any of them, but hopefully Trump has it all and we don't have to worry.
Right, exactly. Well, you can really trust Kemp right now, can't you? You know what he's...
Right.
Right.
That I did
know.
hear of in my NyQuil coma.
I bet everybody does. We can
I was
trust
like,
Kip.
unbelievable.
Well, you know he's been taking money from China.
I keep hearing that. I haven't seen it myself, but if that many people are saying it.
I read a couple of articles. I don't have them handy.
And you're pretty sure?
I wouldn't doubt it if you had people like Whitmer. Yes, like Leo says. How you doing, man? You trust witnesses. Sworn testimonies, absolutely. They know what's going on. They know they're going to go to jail if they're lying.
And let me just say, you brought that up. How are these people not scared to death of going to prison and left for a non-extradited treaty country?
Right.
Are they that brazen to think they won't get caught? I'm just asking. Anyway.
Right. Yeah. I think it's pretty damn brave that they've done what they've done and continue to do. I'm sure we got a lot more out there coming for we don't even know about yet.
I agree with you there, 100%.
This is sworn affidavits, exactly. Well, when I was watching the news, not voluntarily.
No.
CNN. I was forced to do it. I really didn't.
Let me guess. CNN.
It was forced watching, but the senatorial debates were on tonight. What's her name? I don't know her name. Who's running in Georgia?
Yes. Not Purdue, the other one.
Yeah.
Kelly Loeffler or something.
Yeah. She was debating, what's his face? These Democrat, I don't care who he is.
Ashcroft.
Yeah.
And, Purdue said he wouldn't even show up.
I wonder why.
Which I didn't get. Why would you do that?
He better not screw this up. A lot of people are going to be
I know. I'm like, why would he do that?
I think a lot of people are going to be pissed if he doesn't. You can't win your seat if you're going to ride the coattails of the president, which some actually do. And they think, oh, well, just because I'm endorsed,
Agreed.
I'm going to win. You can't do that. We've had one here do it, and he lost. Let's say the governorship. Because he was riding the coattails. But also, there's reports of Giuliani having the coof. So hopefully he will be all right. And
Giuliani had what?
He has the Arona.
Corona?
Yeah.
Dude.
Supposedly.
Your accent must be deeper than I thought because I did not get that word at all.
Well, I refuse to say it. So
maybe that explains it. I didn't know that. Oh, God.
So I leave the C off of it.
Got it.
Becky coined it.
So now they're saying that he may have it?
Yeah, they say he's in the hospital and everything. I don't know. You know how much bullshit they shovel. But
I'm going to say something, and if anyone's watching, you cannot get mad at me because this literally came across my mind. What if Trump pretended he had COVID to calm the fear, saying, if I can get through it, you can get through it? And I know nobody wants to think he would do that. I don't want to think it, but it crossed my mind. And I thought, oh, please don't let that be what happened.
You know, don't feel bad because I felt the same way at some point, but then I thought he wouldn't do that at all.
You never know what they'll do.
Well,
and that's what I put my hope in finally, was that I couldn't see him doing that.
Well, you know, he is. I've heard that they kind of made it. You know, when he was doing debate, he's always holding the podium, right? Now, I cannot confirm or deny they put that on there so he'd get sick. So, this man is a germaphobe. He doesn't like shaking hands. Because...
True.
You know, how could he really get it that easy? I don't think it's possible. Now, I think he had it now, but I don't think he got it the way they're claiming we get it. You know what I'm talking about? I'm trying to be very subtle of what I say.
But that's just like my point with Trump. I didn't want to believe it or think it, but there was a nagging thing in the back of my mind thinking anybody could do anything.
But look at everything they put him through up till now. You know, why wouldn't they not do it?
So I don't blame him. I was talking to my family and I said, I hope he did fake it because they deserve that.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to get hell for that too, but that's all right.
That's all right. On DLive Blush, I'm not sure what that is. Trump tweeted on DLive Blush. I'm not sure. I don't recall what that is. But now, people are already freaking out about this vaccine as well. Because
True.
Who's going to take it? I'm not. And I talked about this with somebody last night. I said, well, and it made sense. It was a tweet where could some of these governors use a fake syringe, you know, like they use in the movies, and pretend they're taking it? Wouldn't put it past them either. And if they're really taking some, who says this is the vaccine? It could be a saline base, whatever.
Rusty, do you not find it odd that we have such little faith in humanity?
Well, it's
way
pretty
out
much
there
going
and
down
things
the
people
tubes.
could possibly do to get out of it.
He's going to get us out of this.
But, you know, that kind of goes into... one of the other things you were talking about as far as... the graph that was showing how the age where you fall and whether you matter.
Right.
Do you have that available?
Let me see the graph.
It's like a wave curve.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Starts with age 0 to age 75 or something.
Let me...
While you're looking that up, let me just tell them.
Okay.
Basically, from a pandemic perspective, Biden's new czar and company have made a curve based on a manual out of Chicago, Obama's buddy, that 0 to 14, that life has no value. 14 to 25 or 36, that was the most, because they're educating you. They're getting your mind where they want it. And then anybody age 45 to 75, you lose what you're worth. So basically they're saying babies, toddlers, preschoolers, middle school are worth 0 because they haven't lived yet. But that just goes right into the whole Agenda 201, Bill Gates. But do you have the map? That way I can stop talking.
What map? You didn't give me a map.
Or the graph thingy. You don't have it?
I don't have the map. What map?
No, a graph.
What graph?
There's a bunch of waves, different colors. Never mind. I explained to him what it meant.
Well,
anyways,
here is Agenda 201 that you were talking about. I got that available.
I wasn't doing it for you to do that.
Well,
no, it's fine. It needs to be talked about.
What graph? Okay. I got it. And there it is.
I'm just watching Periscope so I can see it.
I got it. Okay. There you go. You want me to read it?
I'm waiting for it to come on Periscope. Go ahead and read it, because I can't see it.
Okay, event 201 simulates the outbreak of novel Zontic coronavirus transmission.
Basically, yeah.
From bats to pigs to people that eventually become transmittable from person to person, leading to several pandemics. The pathogen and the disease it causes and modeled largely by SARS, but is more transmittable than the community setting by people with mild symptoms. The disease starts in a pig farm in Brazil. Quietly, is slowly and fast, but then starts to spread more rapidly in the healthcare settings. Then it starts to spread efficiently between person and person in low-income, density-packed neighborhoods, which some of the mega cities in South Africa. The epidemic.
You know what?
Yes.
That's pretty much all you need to read.
Okay.
Basically, the part you're not seeing about this, because I don't think we really had a video on it, is that Bill Gates is involved in this whole Agenda 201. Mm-hmm. And just like Margaret Sanger, they want to do genocide or whatever you call it when you try to lessen the herd. And they had already planned for this coronavirus in 2019 before it actually hit, with a name and everything. Mm-hmm. So if you think that Bill Gates is a vaxxer and that we shouldn't listen to him, that man is worse. I am talking, he is a globalist elitist who thinks our lives don't matter because he's so much better. I hope that made sense.
Oh, it does. And he is, as said before, he's put millions, probably a couple billion, God only knows, into universities, right, studying all of this stuff. And it goes back all the way.
The thing is, it's right there on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, read it for yourselves, people. Don't take our word for it. Look up Agenda 201, Bill Gates. It is all there.
Oh yeah, he's more than accountable for this, because he's going to make money out of it. Fauci's in with it as well.
Agreed. And you know Emmanuel from Chicago.
What's that?
Emmanuel brother from Chicago.
Oh, I didn't know about him.
Yes.
That's interesting. But
just those few names, you know something something's rotten in Denmark. I guess is the right saying.
Oh, there's always something rotten with him. He's a rotten person. And people don't understand, at least that I talk to, they're not aware of a lot of this stuff. Like the 3 Chinese nationals that were caught taking us back to China from our universities and probably CIA also helping them to develop this stuff. So this is in your perspective, do you think this is part of the New World Order's plan?
Absolutely 100%. Yes. I mean, look at the Georgia Stones. Between them, Margaret Sanger, Bill Gates, it's something they're determined to do.
Oh, it is. And I'm good. You know what? Remember, people, you have a 99.999% of living from this. It can be so treatable. It's not a pandemic. This is more media hype than anything.
Or a sleight of hand so that you're looking over here while they're doing something over there.
Yeah, they're usually doing something
And
over
I'm
there.
not saying the numbers are wrong. I'm saying the numbers are probably right, but I blame those politicians who were involved with all of it.
Well, you know, they're still trying to blame the president because at the time they had all this impeachment stuff going on, and nobody ever talked about this. If they did, it was strictly into China at the time. So you have that. You have Pelosi going to Chinatown saying, "Don't be xenophobe." You have people in Italy, the prime minister. There's a large population of Chinese nationals there, either on visas, going to school, whatever. And he's doing the same thing. And he says, "Don't be a xenophobe. Hug somebody from China." You know, well, that's why they got some of the worst hit areas over there.
True.
Yep.
And since we're talking about China, can we segue into our favorite story of the week? If you guys did not believe X-Men or Avengers were real, think again. They are.
Yep, it is true.
And we're going to show you.
Okay, let me find it here. It is.
I think most everybody knows you and I both are comic freaks.
Oh yeah, love the comics.
So when we were able to say we had real X-Men, that was a highlight.
This is true. How did it? Man. Yeah, I gotta re-find it. All these damn things got screwed up. It's not my fault, really.
No, and it's not a big deal because we just said everything that was in it. They are using genes to make them super soldiers. So don't tell me it can't happen. It's real.
Yeah,
it's
it
happening.
is.
I just thought that was exciting.
I can find it very quickly.
Not for China having them. Right.
Well, in all cases, what they're doing, here it is. Let me grab it. Okay. And this is actually from the Daily Caller.
And if they have it.
You know, I've questioned some of the things that the Daily Caller's done, but it does not surprise me if they do something like this. It is China is using human testing to develop biogenically enhanced soldiers, top intelligence officials say. I wouldn't put, and it really...
that should scare every one of us.
It really should. Even though it's a headline, that's a scary headline. Basically, what they're doing is they're trying to
if
enhance.
China has that capability,
Well, they're trying to use genetics and make their soldiers more tolerable to the cold and every other element where a normal person can't. And we do all have those abilities. We don't have the right genes.
Captain America's? Isn't that Captain America's storyline?
It is. Very much is.
That's what I thought.
It's not no more. But that is what they're doing. And that is just not, I don't know. It's, what are they going to do next?
On top of that, Russ, they just bought 100,000 acres in Texas.
Yeah.
The CPC.
They did. Absolutely.
And I've been trying to tell people the number one nation that owns most of the land we live in is China.
Sadly.
Don't be surprised they just bought 100,000 acres in Texas. Biden gets in, we are royally screwed.
Really, it's just a tweet, but it's the reality. You realize how much land China really owns in the U.S.?
Yeah.
I mean,
a lot.
See, Chinese have recently purchased 180,000 acres in Texas ranch.
180, almost 200.
Yeah, it's close to 200,000. And the Texas ranch near the runway of the U.S.'s largest pilot training base and Air Force. I'm really surprised on that one, isn't it? Stating that
they're on the actual border.
Yes, and there are Chinese troops training in Canada, as I presented some time ago.
Yep.
Yes, Human 2.0 is right. Hey, Humi. And Gary, how you doing?
I think we were hoping to not discuss China much, but it pretty much dominated everything.
I don't think we can avoid it, really, because it's so hard. I mean, I really tried to find good stories that does not involve China. I have also one story from Stephen Wilkow. Sorry, it's about the Arona.
Yes. That's worth it.
Calls the Complete Lives System. Now, on the surface, it sounds like a well thought out plan for healthcare, and it is, so long as you're prepared to have your whole existence dictated by a top down government apparatus. Back in 2009, Dr. Emanuel wrote an academic paper for The Lancet, the premier health journal published out of the UK. The headline, Principles for Allocation of Scarce Medical Interventions. This paper became the basis for Obamacare. It also outlined the ultimate goal of single payer. The system demands that almost every individual submit themselves wholly to a treatment curve that sees infants to preteens as essentially worthless. And after the age range of 41 to 75, you'll first see a decrease in available treatment resources, then you'll ultimately be cut off. That's not possible, advocates of government-run healthcare would say. Well, here's the good doctor in his own words saying we must invest in the children.
We don't invest in kids as much as we should. We need to invest in them more, whether it's early childhood education, it's better programs at school, it's identifying kids who have reading disabilities and other problems, it's providing mental health to kids who have stress and very abusive situations. I think investing in our kids, absolutely critical.
Who disagrees? The children are our future, right? They always start with something we all agree upon. But who would believe that really the system only views kids as nothing more than potential pawns for the system itself? Well, here's a simple graph of Emmanuel's own design. I'm not making this stuff up. Starting at the beginning of the curve, you could see it right there. The complete live system, quotes, supports modifying the youngest first principle by prioritizing adolescents and young adults.
Hey, Beth, I found your graph.
Adults over infants. Adolescents have received substantial education.
That's funny since it just played
investments that will be wasted without a complete life. Infants, by contrast, have not yet received these investments. Similarly, adolescence brings with it a developed personality capable of forming and valuing long-term plans whose fulfillment requires a complete life. Well, what that means is the system will center itself around how treating the individual will benefit the individual's ability to contribute to the system that runs life from cradle to the grave. So, I don't mean to be dark here, but according to that, what's a baby's life worth? Well, the answer, nothing. I mean, you may think your babies are cute and you may love them and all, but they have no value when juxtaposed to a society where the government monopolizes all services and requires total submission. In other words, life, your baby's life, you're not living for your own sake. Now let's go to the other side of the curve. And I'm not making this stuff up. It's all right there in black and white. Quote, the complete lives system is complete in another way. It incorporates each morally relevant, simple principle. When implemented, the complete lives system produces a priority curve on which individuals aged roughly between 15 and 40 years get the most substantial chance, whereas the youngest and oldest people get chances that are attenuated. So beginning at the age of 41, the system will begin withholding resources as the individual is now seen on the decline of the curve. Forget this whole idea, get this out of your head, that you're going to pay into the system for your own benefit, that when you need the system the most, it'll be there for you. You are literally being told to die before you become a burden to the elites who will run the system. Now add in the open border. Newly arrived young people will be given priority over citizens who are over the age of 41, and there'll be millions of them. That's not hyperbole. If the left succeeds, taxes will have to go up and services will ever more be redistributed based on the model I just outlined. By this standard, Joe Biden shouldn't be receiving any treatments going forward. But they'll say he's going to be the president. Elites and insiders will demand that you, the little people, simply accept the premise that they are more valuable while they lecture on about equality. Right, the system will treat you equally. Equal misery for everyone. That is how it would work. According to this helpful section, here it goes, titled Promoting and Rewarding Social Usefulness. Quote, unlike the previous values, social value cannot direct allocation on its own. Rather, social value allocation prioritizes specific individuals to enable them to promote other important values or rewards them for having promoted these values, unquote. So, there you have it. Basically, Emmanuel does what all authoritarians do. They design a carve-out so the rulers of the state do not have to subject themselves to their own regulations. At this point, you and I would no longer be citizens of a republic. We would be subjects of a dystopian, authoritarian regime that condemns us to a life of servitude. The system will gift you health services for your most productive years. What that means is, as long as you're producing for the system will make sure that you can function for the system. This is kind of how a rancher looks at cattle, right? The rancher will only invest in veterinary services so long as the head of cattle has value to the ranch. Once a cow can no longer breed or produce milk, it's put out to pasture or slaughtered. I know, right? Dark. Let me veer off for a minute here and demonstrate the lineage, the long line of thinking. The Fabian socialists in England, founded in 1884, are the inspiration for today's democratic socialists. Their mantra is educate, agitate, organize. Here it is from their own website. The Fabian Society derives its name from the Roman general Quintus Fabius, known as Cunctator, from his strategy of delaying his attacks on the invading Carthaginians until the right moment. The name Fabian Society was explained in the first Fabian pamphlet, which carried the note, quote, "For the right moment, you must wait, as Fabius did, most patiently, when warring against Hannibal, though many censured his delays, but when the time comes, you must strike hard, as Fabius did, or your waiting will be in vain and fruitless," unquote. Their stated goals are to lie and wait for the offer of a perfect moment to move society toward their agenda, like a pandemic. Here, and this is shocking, is their most famous spokesperson, George Bernard Shaw, on how a healthcare system should work. Now, before I play this, think of Emmanuel's curve and the provision of societal value.
You must all know half a dozen people at least who are no use in this world, who are more trouble than they are worth. And I think it would be a good thing to make everybody come before a properly appointed board, just as he might come before the income tax commissioners, and say every 5 years or every 7 years, just put him there and say, "Sir or Madam, now will you be kind enough to justify your existence?" If you can't justify your existence, if you're not pulling your weight in the social vote, if you're not producing as much as you consume, or perhaps a little more, then clearly we cannot use the big organization of our society for the purpose of keeping you alive, because your life does not benefit us and it can't be of very much use to yourself.
He just verbalized Emmanuel's life curve. Now, Emmanuel vehemently denies there's a plan for top-down, single-payer, authoritarian health care here.
Single payer is not going to happen. And it's just a fact of political life. I like to remind people, I think I reminded people in my prepared remarks, we barely passed the Affordable Care Act. Okay? If you think you're going to pass single payer, let me invite you to Washington and I'll take you around the halls of Congress. There is no chance, no way, no how. Just not happening. And I don't think the Affordable Care Act, despite what some people have said, is a surreptitious way to get to single payer. That's also not happening. Let's just play it out. What do we get out of the Affordable Care Act? We have a marketplace where competition among private companies offering insurance, and soon there are these, like Kaiser, there are these integrated delivery systems. Subsidies to people to buy that private insurance. That is not single payer. It is not a government takeover of healthcare. It's a vigorous marketplace with competitors offering products that people get to choose from. We would need some major hiccup along the way, collapse of some private insurers, or no offerings that are not reasonable or desirable by people to, I think, have a major shift. And I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, because now the left is cool on the big insurers. But wait. If the government is giving people money to buy the insurance and then choosing the insurers that could sell the insurance and then subsidizing the sale, you could see how the lie and wait approach has worked, right? We're moving in that direction. This has worked versus taking the system whole in one motion. Now, the pandemic of 2020, that hiccup, has given them the final piece they seek. Last clip, one more. Look, body Americans. You might be last in line in the world to get the vaccine, should you want to take it, that was developed with support from President Trump's Operation Warp Speed and paid for with your tax dollars.
Vaccine nationalism, it's called, keeping the vaccine for my country, is a natural response. Governments are responsible for the freedom and well-being of their citizens, but there's a limit to what they should do, and there's also some obligation to the world. If the whole world is suffering, your country's not going to get better as New Zealand has shown us, if everyone else has a lot of COVID, it'll come back into your country. So we have obligations beyond our borders too. So what we have proposed is that we actually, countries can have enough vaccine to get the transmission rate in their country down, but then they really do have an obligation to release vaccine into the world. And then the question is how you distribute it.
Understand, you might be last in line, but the overlords are not going to skip one dose. So here's the argument. This man is the epitome of the left's plans for America. He says we should accept our fate by 75. We should all be prepared to meet our end, say our goodbyes. I don't know, why not just issue a permanent sleeping pill at midnight of 75 years? And yet, there's a manual by the side of a man who is perhaps going to be the oldest person in American history to be inaugurated at the age of 78. Gone is the talk of being a burden or in decline or feeble. No more worries about octogenarians being robbed of creativity and ability to contribute to work, society, and the world. Nope, we're putting that guy in charge of everything. I thought the left was insisting on masks and lockdowns so we could save grandma, yet they choose him for the coronavirus task force. I don't know. I'm getting some mixed messages here. Could it be they're not telling us the whole truth, not being upfront with us? Emmanuel's beliefs could literally be the plot of a dystopian sci-fi novel, believing that certain members of society are more worthy of living past 75 or receiving medical care. That's exactly what socialism is. For thee, not me. Socialism's for the people, not the socialist. Then there are your kids. According to Dr. Death's plan, your children have no value until they can propagate the system. People like Emmanuel are creating the blueprints for the America that the left has always dreamed of and the conservatives have always feared. The system as foreseen by the socialists now running the Democratic Party has always been sold on the promise of a new outcome or a new equality. But it always fails the same way. The elites who fail the society never suffer the consequences alongside the commoner. They inevitably separate themselves from those they doomed. In our case, the citizen, keyword, will be cast down into the new masses driven by the open border. You, them, it's all the same. Who cares if you worked hard, maybe served in the military, and paid into the system? You see, they've got big plans, and progress cannot be held up for your tiny, selfish views on life and.
I'm in Amsterdam, which is without a.
So that was pretty much it. That's horrible because, everybody should live for as long as they can. And it's kind of like the Nazis, the way they experimented on people.
And also they're known for saying if you own the children, you own the war. I can't remember how it goes.
Right.
But it was right there with that point you were saying.
Yeah, these people are so warped. I mean, it's not really even funny. It's scary.
To think about them saying that an innocent baby is worth absolutely zero, and a 36-year-old drug addict would have more sway in him being beneficial to this child. Yet I want them to turn around and ask me, why did God allow cancer? Why did God do that? And the first thing I want to say is, because you aborted the baby that was going to be able to fix that.
Right.
Of course, no one ever says that to me, but the fact that they can put a zero price tag, think about that, people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they never think of a baby in an abortion clinic. In fact, they were cheering that when they thought Biden won. You had abortion nurses giving the big thumbs up. But if that's the case, if that's their wonderful thinking, isn't Biden past due?
Exactly.
And
That's
he's not
what the
thinking.
video said. He doesn't deserve anything then, and he's past the curve. Oh, but he's president now.
Oh, that makes no difference.
I agree. But that's what they'll say.
It's like,
It's irritating.
I've never watched American Horror Story, but you know what? This is it. This is completely it.
I agree.
And to have even an ounce of mentality to think this way is unthinkable. It's almost
I agree,
speechless. There has also been some hearings this week, actually last Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, which nobody's talking about at all. And that was the Crossfire Hurricane case study. Now, I admit I didn't get...
And the other channels did not cover it at all?
I came across it totally by accident.
Wow.
Totally by accident. I really didn't get a chance to watch it all. I've been really busy, but I did get some clips from that. Let me pull them up real quick. There we go.
Written really good pieces
by Russian spies.
All right, hold on. There we go. I got things set up so differently.
Antonio Mujica.
No, not that one. Not Motenio. There we go. Why is there no sound? Seriously? Ugh. Let me switch to the other one.
And his partner.
Classified information leaked serially to prestige press organizations for the purpose of prosecuting a campaign of political warfare against a sitting president. Reporters rarely, if ever, actually saw the classified documents. They relied on badly spun accounts of the documents fed to them by a circle of intelligence leakers. The classified information was used to advance the narrative that Trump had been compromised by Russian spies. U.S. officials knew not only that they were breaking the law, they also knew they were marketing a lie, and they knew where it originated. According to notes taken by former CIA Director John Brennan, he briefed then President Barack Obama in late July 2016 that the Hillary Clinton campaign had approved a plan to, quote, vilify Donald Trump by stirring up a scandal, claiming interference by Russian security services, end quote. Knowing the purpose and provenance of the story, Brennan nonetheless pushed it to senior U.S. officials as fact. He briefed then Senate Minority Leader Harry Reid on information drawn from the notorious dossier paid by the Clinton campaign. Brennan also took it to the FBI. He said that he shared that information regarding Trump aides and Russian officials with the Bureau so that they could take it. In sworn testimony before Congress in May 2017, the former CIA director said the information he gave to federal law enforcement serves as the basis for the FBI investigation. It was to lend more color and weight to the Russia smear targeting Trump that government officials leaked classified information like the Flynn intercept. None have ever been charged. The press itself was honored. The Washington Post and New York Times were awarded a joint Pulitzer Prize for their numerous stories sourced to classified information leaked to advance a fraudulent narrative. Because of its part in pushing Russiagate, American intelligence services and law enforcement authorities are regarded with skepticism if not contempt, by half of the U.S. public. Programs like Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act warrants, confidential human sources, and classified intelligence designed to keep citizens safe from terrorism, organized crime, and adversarial states were turned against Americans who were simply practicing their right to participate in our political process. And thus, the Crossfire Hurricane investigation marks a new, even transitional moment in our history. I lived in and reported from the Middle East for more than a decade, and the shape of the FBI and media's joint operation is unmistakable. It signals the marriage of the Ministry of the Interior, responsible for domestic spying, to the Ministry of Information, responsible for manufacturing propaganda, in a combined effort to destroy anyone it perceives as an opponent. With Crossfire Hurricane, major American institutions, the press, and our intelligence community have adopted the practices and ethos of the Third World. It is not clear at present how we might return from that territory. The issue then is not simply that the press and our intelligence services have forfeited the faith of large parts of the U.S. public, but they have injected into our public sphere a conspiracy theory. What they've done is the equivalent of dumping mercury into every American river, lake, and reservoir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brock. I'll start with the questionings. Mr. Smith, I'll start with the questioning to Mr. Brock. This is information we should have had years ago, but it was recently revealed when John Radcliffe released a document that said the U.S. intelligence community reported back on July 26th of 2016 that allegedly approval by Hillary Clinton on July 26th a proposal from one of her foreign policy advisors to vilify Donald Trump by stirring up a scandal claiming interference by Russian security services. Mr. Brock, in your testimony you talked about the unequal application or the unequal treatment by the FBI of the Clinton campaign versus the Trump campaign. To me, this is just exhibit A in that unequal treatment. Here you have the intelligence community actually knowing that it's Hillary Clinton approving of a plan to stir up this scandal, tying candidate Trump to Russian collusion. That kind of explains the whole Steele dossier, doesn't it? And the FBI knew that that was bought and paid for by the Hillary Clinton campaign. The FBI knew that the primary subsource of that Steele dossier had been investigated by them in 2009. But they knew all of this for sure by the end of January 2017, but some of this information was known in July and in October. So speak a little bit in terms of the unequal treatment of the two campaigns. And also I want you to speak to, I agree with you that this was not an adequate predicate for an investigation, okay? But speak to the FBI guidelines about continuing an investigation when you have all this exculpatory information.
Yeah, I think one of the...
Again, get the microphone close to your...
One of the most puzzling aspects of this whole, it really is kind of a national tragedy. It's a tragedy for the FBI, certainly, as we look back and see the thin basis for launching.
Some of you are going to see a 2-minute break. We'll continue to listen in on this Senate hearing when you return.
The reasons that the FBI stated in their opening communication for starting up a case, and then their comments to the Inspector General later as to why they felt they were compelled to investigate the Trump campaign, they don't add up with a certain logic that should have been applied to the dossier and its connection to the Clinton campaign. If they applied the same logic to the dossier and the fact that the Clinton campaign arranged for and paid for that and received Russian disinformation, then they would have had to open up a separate counterintelligence investigation, and yet they didn't.
And quite honestly, closed down the Trump investigation.
Well,
because it was predicated on all that false information.
It was predicated not only on thin information of fourth-hand hearsay, it also, the statements that they relied on contained two exculpatory statements that A, there was no indication that the Trump campaign received or accepted the Russian suggestion that they had information damaging to Hillary Clinton, and B, the Russians were prepared to release it no matter what the Trump campaign did or not. That is in their own opening EC. That right there for an experienced counterintelligence leader in the FBI should have been enough to say, we don't have enough to open up a case.
So I want to address my next question.
I have just 2 more clips.
Fredo Anzola received a small business loan from the Venezuelan.
Dang it. Seriously. All right. Hold on a minute. Good Lord. You just don't want to talk today.
On federal records. So that really...
There we go.
This committee's work for the last 6 years investigating some of this corruption in the Obama administration. This represents, from my standpoint, the unequal application of justice. Hillary Clinton was exonerated. The email scandal, the mid-year examination investigation morphed into the Crossfire Hurricane scandal. I mean, I find it shocking that within 2 weeks of President Trump entering office, 2 of his phone calls to world leaders were leaked to the press. This is unprecedented. It's actually what spawned our investigation into the leaks to show the 125 leaks in the first 126 days. This cannot go on. This is dangerous to our democratic republic. Unfortunately, my efforts to uncover the truth have been severely obstructed by the agencies involved, by entrenched bureaucrats that have every incentive to keep it hidden. This is an email that the GSA produced to us, and you can see we can read the whole thing except for the mobile phone number of the sender of the email. This is the exact same email produced to us by the FBI. As you can see, almost everything is redacted. There's no reason for things to be redacted. There's nothing involving or harming national security here. Might embarrass the agency, but doesn't harm national security. This is what we've been dealing with. This is the resistance we have encountered in our investigations into abuse of power.
We simply don't have time to indulge in hyper-partisan investigations that simply don't advance the interests of the American people. Therefore, I do not think today's hearing is an appropriate use of our committee's time, resources, or quite frankly.
For nearly 40 years in local news, CNN, CBS, PBS, and the national station group Sinclair, I've witnessed a dramatic devolution in my industry as we've allowed ourselves to be transformed into tools of political and corporate interest, pushing narratives, slanting information on the news and online, and seeking to shape public opinion rather than report facts and various views. This means today's media landscape has allowed some of the biggest and most important stories of our time to be covered in a fantastical and one-sided, often inaccurate and incomplete way, or perhaps escape coverage entirely, while important violations of law and constitutional rights by powerful interests go unchallenged.
And that's just a little bit of what happened when it came to that. But everybody who doesn't think Durham is doing anything, he is doing something. Did you know about that, Beth?
Just the fact that they made a special counsel so Biden couldn't fire him, I thought was big news.
Right. Well, he is doing something.
Do you know anything specific?
Let's see. Yes, I do. Make sure I get the right one. There we go. There it is. I had it up before. This is actually on Twitter on Government U.S. Court Doc. I'm gonna have to go off camera. This thing is so small. I gotta lean into the thing. It's crazy that it's so damn small. I've underestimated the probe of the FAFSA application and the emails, or excuse me, the overall investigation to individual number 1, which is defendant was able to avoid by altering the emails. The public records also reflect the political personal bias by having contributed to his offense conduct, as noted in OIG report, PSR. The defendant previously investigated the ultimately suspended and suppressed sending inspired political message to other FBI employees. CIOG report at 556 and 400, for example, which we do not have. In the other day of 2016 political election, the defendant wrote, I am also stressed, but I also, about what I could have done. Definitely. ID when another FBI, Jesus. Well, I can't read the rest. It's so damn small. What the hell's wrong with these people?
Well, we'll send the link out in case people want to read it.
Yeah, that is a good idea. It's like, holy smoly. This is Durham Special Counsel. Durham writes, political or personal bias may have contributed to actions from FBI lawyers who altered CIA emails. Review 2016. Okay, this is the first time I'm doing this, so bear with me. Yeah, I can't get it going. But if you go to Catherine Higgins, CBS,
Heritage.
What?
In the Heritage.
Heritage. This is from December 4th. Check it out on her timeline. You'd think they would kind of like summarize it a little bit bigger. It would have been nice. Well, at least they're looking into it. Durham is doing something. I think that was actually for the lawyer. People may say, oh, well, what a big deal. But it is a big deal. I mean, you got to catch the small fish before you get the big.
Yeah.
Anything to add? Anything?
I'm sorry, I'm just... I hear NyQuil coming on quickly.
NyQuil. Okay, I'll save these stories for Tuesday. How's that?
Okay.
Sound good?
It does, because it was all good information. Trying to compact it into the short time.
It really is difficult. See, I'm not used to an hour. I'm used to 3, 4. So
not
I can
with
get
me, you don't.
I can get all this stuff in. Hey, I like to do one shot, you know.
Now I hear you have a tease coming up of an interview next weekend of someone that many people admire.
Yes, I do, and that is scheduled to be taped. I will reveal that next Thursday. You got to have a cliffhanger. Come on.
Yep, I'm not naming names, but tune in. You'll want to see it.
Yes, you definitely will. Everybody knows them. Everybody loves them. Some people, whatever.
Can't hear them.
Huh?
Can't hear them.
Can't hear them.
Sorry, his accent, it makes it hard.
Also said, did Bill Barr flip? No, I seriously doubt he did.
I just realized we outed ourselves with the accent thing.
Wasn't me. Don't blame me.
Calgon, take me away. Oh, Russ.
So that's what you got in the cup. We got it.
Sorry if I spoiled it a little bit. I really tried hard. I did.
Oh, hey, you're a trooper. Do you want to say anything while we're on our way out?
No, just that I'm glad everybody tuned back in. The show's going places. We have a single-minded focus on the way Russ sees things. So, thank you.
You're welcome. Rocky, no, I'm not sure I see you on D-Live.
Huh?
Oh, I had a question in the chat.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. Well, I just answered that, Elsa, earlier. So, thank you for joining. Really appreciate it. We are going to start doing this on Sundays at 10:30, Tuesdays at 9, Thursdays at 9, and do it all over again Thursday or Sunday. Well, you can't have. There's just too much to get in an hour. Way too much.
You're right.
So we would like to expand a little bit. I'm gonna try to give a little different features going during the broadcast for others to have a chance, because I think it's really important that we all have a voice. It is truly important to do. Thank you very much. God bless the President and everybody I always mention to. God bless them and keep them safe. God bless all of you. Really appreciate you coming in. Please share and like. Any comments, put them in if you want. Any suggestions, go ahead. We'll look them up. And it's just getting interesting. Where can they find you, Beth? Would you like to tell them where they can find you, or they'll find you here?
You can find me anywhere. My name's the same everywhere. Beth Duffy 95.
Okay, there you go. Follow. Be nice. Yes, that is Eastern time. And it's going to continue. And like I said, I'm going to have new features brought. It's got a little tweaking to do, but we're getting there. Thank you. God bless all of you as well. And have a good night. And God bless the President. Keep him safe. Keep him filled with wisdom and health. And be kind to each other.